Hey XR peeps, hope you guys are doing pretty well. I'm doing real well. I got to catch that recent dip earlier today at about a buck 54 is where I caught it, and bought myself another nice little bag. It's really nice to accumulate or add to your position, especially when fundamentals are looking better than ever. In spite of whatever's going on in the market, everything's being built exactly the way you would want it for future increase in value, right? For this thing to start becoming not only integrated, because that's what we're looking at, integration, but it's preparing a launching pad for mass adoption. And that's where you start to see some real value accumulate in your investment, which is what we all want, right? I still have a time horizon of 2030. It might be a little sooner, it might be 2028, and that's the Trump effect. It's a lot of the stuff that he's doing, and he's making it happen very quickly. I didn't expect that. I wasn't even sure he would win this next election because I really felt they had it so rigged that he couldn't really overcome that at this point, but apparently he did. And showing me that shows me that, maybe there's a lot more possible than what I initially assumed. So I'm very excited about that, but I do know no matter who president is, no matter if you're left or right, the dollar's days as we have known it as a petrodollar are over, and this is our new system. And we also had a lot of those Epstein emails this weekend, right? And I was kind of talking to you about the connections between Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Epstein and his crew and all the people involved in that, and how they strategically tried to basically destroy XRP and cryptocurrency. Anything that could compete with their idea, their image, their agenda of how the financial system is to evolve, right? Because they wanted that control. Well, that's over, but I'm gonna articulate to you a little bit of how some of that deception, some of that manipulation took place that whole time. We're also hearing a lot of Coinbase connections to Epstein, and they were the first to delist XRP as soon as the announcement of the lawsuit back in 2020 came out. I mean, they did it like I think within 30 minutes. It was fast. But during the Gary Gensler corrupt SEC chairmanship, he also made it appear as though he was looking into Ethereum, just for appearances is all it was. But when that announcement came out, Coinbase didn't delist Ethereum. They wouldn't even they wouldn't even dream of it. They didn't once delist Ethereum. So that's some of the manipulation. But here are some of like the mental games they play to make it harder for people to kind of make connections and understand what they're looking at. So let's take a quick look here. Crypto Insight UK here helps me make my point. He says, by Ripple, Cointelegraph means XRP. All right, so every time Cointelegraph, which is, they call them Bitcoin Telegraph, every time they say Ripple, they mean XRP. But why? Why do they do that? So check this out. It says, you'd have thought after being in this space this long, they'd be able to accurately determine and report on the difference between a company and a crypto. They don't say Solana Foundation, and Solana has a foundation. So does Tron and some of these others, but they never say that. They give you the exact crypto. So here's the actual announcement from Cointelegraph. This was today. Latest, Moscow Exchange, Moscow, which is good news, right? Moscow Exchange plans to introduce crypto indices for Solana, Ripple, and Tron in 2026, with futures expected to follow, which means they're going to have ETFs after the futures, right? So why say Ripple? When you look up on Coinbase or Uphold or any exchange, and you start trying to find, hey, where's Ripple? You're not going to find it. You have to look for XRP. So why not say XRP? Because that's exactly what they mean. Now, let me tell you why it's important to get your information from independent folks, much like myself, because it comes at you a little different, with a little bit more foundation behind the opinion. Here is Michael Branch, and he's a fairly well-trusted, influencer, sharing news, disseminating cryptocurrency news. He's been around for a while. And he says Moscow Exchange to add Sol, XRP, and TRX. Now, if you're looking for Tron, TRX helps, but Tron, you can find it under the name Tron. And TRX futures contracts to crypto derivatives lineup. All right, that makes sense now, right? Now you can understand it. Ripple it hasn't IPO'd yet as a company. It's not, you can't buy its stock. It's not on any stock exchange here, there, or anywhere, but XRP is. And Cointelegraph knows that. I mean, they're supposed to be seasoned professionals. Well, they are. They know what they're doing. They're manipulating, and they're still at it right now. They're still doing the bidding of some of those elite, corrupt individuals that still have pockets of power around the country and the globe. And so you need to understand the difference. Otherwise, you miss opportunities in this world. They want to obfuscate it. They want to make it hard for you to see it. They want to give you the Fugazzi, right? They want to cloud your mind, and so you don't know what's going on. And then they pay certain influencers to say certain things, and then it makes you doubt yourself. This is why you need to be able to discern these things, which is why it never worked on me. I do have the ability to think critically. I'm a Gen Xer, man, and I'll tell you what, that's one of the things that we were blessed with, that our current generations in schools, whether it's elementary, junior high, high school, or university, it is so woke that they'd rather teach you to go protest than to really think about information and evaluate it. Now, when I see this, I know when I'm looking at a dishonest person. For the most part, I'm pretty good at it. So when I see all these people manipulating the information, well, it doesn't take me long to get to the conclusion as to why, right? Because they want to obfuscate it. But from the time that I got in about 7 years ago to now, Ripples and XRP have demonstrated, have built, have kept moving forward in spite of the obstacles thrown in their direction. And so, and that's when you have real technology, a real tool, a real idea, a real value that you can invest in for growth. And we already know the dollar's dead. I knew that before I even knew anything about Ripple and XRP. I understood that the system as we knew it was over. We're going to a gold-backed system. The next video is going to talk a little bit about that. So check it out. I'm going to swing that thing in about 30 minutes and get it to you, something like that. But I just want to articulate, put a fine point on, this is what we're dealing with. But you just need to keep your mind straight, stay focused, and have a long time horizon. And it's not really that long if you're thinking about it. What are we, 2026? 2028, it's a couple of years away. For me, I'm still expecting 2030 because I ain't touching this stuff till 2030. But if for some reason we get some incredible increases in value in 2028, which is possible, then I may reevaluate my time horizon. But for the time being, I'm still looking at 2030. Let me know what your time horizon is in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and bookmark. We'll see you guys on the next one. Till next time, adios, amigos.